Okay. So I'm going to go through the whole spiel. My name is Kristen. I am the president of the Science Club. And today we're going to be talking about Earth Day, which is April 22nd of this year. So in a couple of weeks. And the Earth Day has a theme, which is invest in our planet. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to share my screen.
Oh, let me make you like a host. 1 second.
Okay. And I actually learned that Earth Day has a theme song.
Oh, wow. Let's listen
I
to
did
that.
not know that.
If you can find out. You can do a presentation. I'll search for the theme song.
It's on earthday.org. That's where I found it, the Earth Day website. Let me see. Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, so let me go ahead and... So investing in our planet, that's the name of my PowerPoint. So why is Earth Day important? It recognizes the harm humans cause and provides and shows massive amount of support across the globe for protecting the Earth and environment. Earth Day is actually very important. I didn't really take it seriously as a kid because I really didn't understand. And I also read today that Earth Day was actually focused around college kids. That's why they chose the day April 22nd, because it was after spring break, but before final exams. So they did it to make it more, to focus more on college kids so they can spread the word and learn more about Earth Day. I thought that was actually a very interesting fun fact. So what is affecting the Earth today? Pollution, wildfires, burning fossil fuels, deforestation, climate change. These are all, these are like I guess you could say the biggest things that are affecting the Earth, but they're not the only things. These are just the ones that I could find. There's so many different things, but I couldn't put all that in a slideshow. And a lot of these actually contribute to climate change, which I'll get more into in just a few minutes. So there's different types of pollution, but I found air pollution and noise pollution. Air pollution is created by people for the emissions from factories, cars, planes, and aerosol cans. Yes, hairspray is actually not that good for you or for the environment. Secondhand cigarette smoke is also considered air pollution. These man-made sources of pollution are called anthropogenic sources, and some types of air pollution, such as smoke from wildfires or ash from volcanoes, occur naturally. Air pollution is actually becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And then that's why there's smog and, like especially in LA and stuff, they have like the smog and everything because it's just getting worse. And it's actually affects climate change too. And then the noise pollution, which is not really pollution like how air pollution is, but it is causing like if you hear outside a lot of noise, that can cause like high blood pressure, heart disease, sleep disturbances, and stress and hearing loss. It affects all age groups, especially children, and many children live near noisy airports or streets have been found to suffer from stress and other problems such as impairments in memory, attention level, and reading skill, which I thought was absolutely interesting because even though I lived in a near airport for a year and that was the most noise I've ever had to experience. Sorry, let me.
And then noise pollution also affects the animals, the wild animals. If you think about the whales, right? They use sound to communicate.
It stresses out the animals. And I forgot what else. I didn't put it in here. But yeah, it does affect animals a lot. I just didn't put that one in here. I feel bad. But and oh my gosh, did I go too far? Oh yeah, so this is okay, sorry. Wildfires. There's always wildfires, especially in California. Wildfires simultaneously impact weather and the climate by releasing large quantities of carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and fine particulate matter into the atmosphere, resulting in air pollution It can cause a range of health issues, including respiratory and cardiovascular problems. That's starting to become a bigger thing because I don't know if it's all of Virginia, but I know the area I live in, York County, we're not allowed to have open fires before 4 p.m. because sometimes it could cause like a mass fire because we live like kind of like in the wooded area, I guess you can say. So we're not allowed to have open fires before 4 p.m. because of the risk of wildfires in our area. Burning fossil fuels. When fossil fuels are burned, they release large amounts of carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, into the air. And greenhouse gases trap heat in our atmosphere, causing global warming. I thought this picture was going to be clear because it kind of explained it, but it's kind of blurry. But it just kind of explains how the fossil fuels are released from either companies, cars, the ground, how the fossil fuels are coming from the ground, and how it gets trapped into our atmosphere and just kind of keeps everything warm instead of letting it all evaporate, into the air and into the atmosphere and stuff. I wish I had looked at this before. Deforestation is a big thing. I wish I would have got the statistics on the Amazon rainforest. How it's like a football field torn down every so often, which is causing a lot of problems for the animals and the environment out there. But the loss of trees and other vegetation can cause climate change, desertification, soil erosion, fewer crops, flooding, and increased greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and a host of problems for Indigenous people. And also it does affect animals as well because you're tearing down their homes, where they eat, where they sleep, and you're pushing them further and further towards each other, which is—
Christine, I just found out it's according to BBC.com, an area of Amazon rainforest, roughly the size of a football pitch, is now being cleared every single minute.
Yes, it is every minute. Yeah,
that's
so
according to satellite data.
Yeah, that's ridiculous because there's only so much of the Amazon left to where they can keep tearing it down. And I know there are people fighting it, but I don't really know if it's doing too much good yet. Haven't kept up with it. Last time I read something maybe a couple months ago about it, but that's actually been a huge problem for years because they're kind of tearing it down and not really doing anything with it. They're kind of just tearing it down for the land.
I think a lot of
they're selling the proceeds. Yeah, they're selling the trees. They're clearing for
clearing land. I think they're planting like bananas or pineapples, like monoculture basically. I think I mean actually part of the land is doing that, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then the climate change. Many places have experienced changes in rainfall, resulting in more floods, droughts, or intense rain, as well as more frequent and severe heat waves. The planet's oceans and glaciers have also experienced changes. Oceans are warming and becoming more acidic, ice caps are melting, and sea levels are rising. I know my sister-in-law actually lives in California, and she says how they're constantly going through droughts, especially in the summertime, because it gets so hot and it barely ever rains. I was just reading something earlier about how I know here it's been raining a lot and it's been flooding. I'm just like, okay, I didn't see that coming.
The rain all goes to one place. It's like,
yeah, because I think my husband had to take my son to school one day because it was just the roads were so flooded, and I'm a terrible driver in the weather like that. So I decided not to take him to school that day. But yeah, and then a lot of the glaciers are starting to break off and like go into the ocean, which is rising the sea level and everything like that. And I did find some jobs that actually help the environment, and these are just a few out of many. I try to find the ones that are, what is the word I'm looking for? Very helpful, especially with what's going on right now. So the first one is a conservation scientist. What happened? Scientist and forester, and they manage the overall land quality of forests, parks, rangelands, and other natural resources. Their duties include protecting wilderness areas, enhancing habitats for animals, facilitating public recreation, and putting out wildfires. And to do a job like that, it requires a bachelor's, and the salary is a median of $39,000 a year. I thought for all that, they should be getting paid at least $80,000, because that's a lot. I thought that was a lot. The second one is an environmental lawyer. They are experts on the environmental legislation, whether it's advocating for clean technology, water and climate change laws, or management of land. These lawyers always have Mother Earth's best interest at heart, and this requires a law degree and or passing the state's written bar exam with a median salary of $87,000 a year. Yeah, these are the people that if there's a big company that wants to tear down or mess with the area here, the environmental lawyers will come and protect that area and make sure they're trying to do everything by the law, by the book. And the last one is a hydrologist. They use their expertise of water quality and availability to study water movement. Their time is generally split between working in the field, where they may find themselves wading into lakes and streams to collect samples, or reading monitoring equipment in an office where they use computers to analyze data and model their findings. It requires a bachelor's degree just for entry level, and some people even come in with a master's, and the salary is a median of $64,000 a year. I thought this was a very interesting job because they're the reason why we have clean water.
And I also want to add that those who are doing work with alternative energy, like solar panels or wind turbines, like wind turbine technicians, they're in high demand, I believe.
Yeah, that's huge over in Europe.
Their salary is about $50,000 a year, I think. I mean, as a technician, and I guess you don't need a lot of training to get into the field.
Yeah, I saw the solar panel technician and the wind turbine. I think the solar panel makes like, was it $20 an hour? And the solar panel makes $24 an hour. Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting because I used to live in Germany with my mom. And if you drive, like, especially on the Autobahn or just anywhere really, you see huge wind turbines. They collect the energy from the wind. I thought that was super interesting because you only see stuff like that here unless you go to like certain areas. And I think this is the last slide. And this is, you can always find out more information on earthday.org. It's a website and they go over everything. Like they even have how they're going against the fashion industry because of certain types of materials that they use for clothes. And they even have a website where you can buy more eco-friendly clothes that they just came out with. And I actually pulled this from the website for Earth Day 2022. We need to act boldly, innovate broadly, and implement equitably. It's going to take all of us, all in, businesses, governments, and citizens, everyone accounted for and everyone accountable, a partnership for the planet. I thought that was perfect because we all need to do our part because the Earth is only going to last so long. We can't make it happen faster. We got to slow it down. And
I would just share the link for the theme song for Earth Day. Do you mind? Do you want to just play it on your computer?
Oh yeah, sure. Okay. Oh, I started it. I don't think anybody can see it. Can you see it?
No, you should minimize. You should exit the PowerPoint. Close the PowerPoint window, maybe.
That might help. Hold on. Okay, let me start.
Start and share again. Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yep, full screen.
Okay.
And that's good. It's not a song, I guess. I guess it's not a song. It's just theme music or something. I don't even hear music. But
No, there's no
it-
music.
it's
Just
great information though. Okay, all right. So Professor Funky, do you want to go next?
so can I share my screen?
Oh, I think you should be able to share. Yeah.
Let me just exit this full screen. Minimize. Okay. Let's see. Share my screen first. Okay, share screen.
I hope this is the one.
So other screen sharing. Okay, should I say yes to stop the other screen sharing?
No, not yet, not yet. I think Chris.
yet.
Christine-
Okay. Oh, that's the song.
I hope so.
There's I can't hear any song.
I cannot hear anything either.
It's not
Maybe you can just
playing.
share that link. We'll find out the link and then share that
Did you stop it from playing because
in
it
the email.
stopped? Okay.
It says anthem, right? It must be a song. Okay.
Okay, so now let me
Yeah,
share
it was. I
the-
don't know why it wasn't playing, but I'll just share it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so
Oh, I have done something similar, Funky, but I'm sure
you did, yeah.
also a similar PowerPoint, but not probably the same.
Okay, so there is this report. I actually accessed this report on NPR.
Okay.
Yeah, this was on the radio yesterday, and I was able to
Great.
go to their station and get this report.
Wow.
It's a 7-chapter report, over 1,000 pages.
Wow. Yeah. Summarizes in 10 slides. Excellent.
So yeah. So I mean, it's just too much. So I just brought out what I think is important to
I
me.
see.
Yeah, it's 7 chapters. It's a lot of work. That is, the authors are from people from many parts of the world, different parts of the world. So it's
Right.
like writing a publication. I don't know how frequently they do their
I
publication.
think they do that annually, Funky. I think I did some research. They do that every year. And this report was published by 270 some scientists, some experts in the climate.
Exactly. It was a whole page with a lot of names. So they are called the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. I thought it's important that we all pay attention to this climate change issue. We don't want it to become a crisis before we actually, start doing something about it. So yeah, and I put the link here, but it's kind of tiny of where I got the information from. It's on the NPR website, the radio website on their website. So if you're interested, you can go there and then download.
The full report, the 1,000 pages. Yeah.
That's what I did. I downloaded the report, but I cannot read like 1,000 something pages,
Right.
a lot of pages. Okay, so landmark international climate report. So they say the world still has time to avoid the most extreme dangers of climate change, but only if nations cut greenhouse gas pollution much faster from nearly every aspect of human activity. See, people are just like, the countries are not taking this issue seriously. Each country, I think they come together and, they're not promising enough. That is what they're finding is that they're not doing enough, that if they continue at this rate, there's going to be a crisis. There's going to be a climate change crisis in the world. So climate change 2022, this is the report this year. And it's a mitigation of climate change. It's a 17-chapter report. So I went into each of the titles of the chapters and listed the ones that I think, I think are worth looking at. So they looked at emission trends and what's driving these emission trends, mitigation pathways compatible with long-term goals. You know, each country come together and say, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But from their results, they think those mitigation pathways are just not going to cut it. That if countries continue at that rate, there's going to be a crisis very soon. So mitigation and development pathways in the near to mid-term, demand services and social aspect of the mitigation. So they come up with some recommendation, you know, and actually there's so many graphs that you're going to see. So I just cut the graphs because graph says a lot more words than the actual words. So the energy system, agriculture, forestry, and other land uses, you know, what's her name? She was just talking about the Amazon and all that. Yeah, so they looked at forestry, they looked at other land uses, all of those greenhouse emissions, you know, they looked at everything in each of the chapters, urban system and urban settlement, you know, so many trees are being cut down to make way for houses. It's happening in my community. There are some very aggressive developers. All they do is cut down a lot of trees and then put as many houses as possible. Yeah, that all of these contribute to these greenhouse emissions. Buildings, transport, industry, cross-sectoral perspectives, accelerating the transition in the context of sustainable development. So the whole idea is we should all think smart and say, how are we going to slow down this rate of the increase, especially in temperature of the oceans? That's what they looked at. So that we really need to cut down on these temperatures that is going on globally in the world. So this is the first of the graphs that I'm talking about. So look at the legends on each of the legends here. I'm gonna go to the next screen here. So we see fluorinated gases. First, the global net anthropological emission have continued to rise across all major groups of greenhouse gases. You know, these are the greenhouse gases, fluorinated gases, nitrous oxides, methane, carbon dioxide from land use and land use change, forestry, carbon dioxide from fossil fuel and the industry. You can see that the percentage just keeps rising from year to year. 1990, 2000, 2010, 2019, the percentage just keeps going up. So not much is being done with respect to these percentages. So I didn't mean to advance that. I was trying to see what's at the bottom. So I can just move on. So here we have the uneven growth of world emissions. So they looked at the emission of all of these greenhouse gases based on different parts of the world. Which country is producing at the highest rate these greenhouse gases? So we have international shipping and aviation. Those are sources of the greenhouse gases from Australia, Japan, New Zealand, you know, and the percentages. So the legends here, all greenhouse gas emission, that's what we have in blue. Fossil fuel, okay, that's all of what we have here is just the greenhouse emission. So the fossil fuel is going to be in the next slide. Okay, good. So here we have net carbon dioxide emission per region. That is per region of the world. North America, yeah, we are the one producing the largest percentage of these greenhouse emissions, and then followed by Europe, Eastern Asia, Latin America. And these are all the sources, international shipping and aviation. So we have the percentages per country, carbon dioxide emission. And this is greenhouse gas emission per capita. Yeah, I guess per how rich a country is in the world, per capita, and then per the population of members of the world. So let's see if I can advance the slide. Okay, good. So unit cost of renewable energy and their use. So now these are kind of like, what is the solution to this problem? You know, so how can we reduce the amount of these greenhouse gases that is being emitted? So these are several, solutions: photovoltaic, onshore wind, like the wind energy we're talking about some few minutes ago, offshore wind, concentrating solar power, batteries for passenger electric vehicles. So, and we're looking at the rising, this is costs per maybe wattage of the amount of energy. And that is per year. So yeah, this is 2000, 2010, 2020. Yeah. So the good news is that it's rising every time. The cost is rising. Now, if we look at the costs with respect to the adoption, that means who are the people, are people actually using this with respect to the costs? I think the graph is also rising. The adoption curve is also
price
rising.
is dropping, yeah. So more people are using them because the prices have dropped so much.
In spite of that, yeah. Yeah, so, but look at the one with respect to the solar panel. Not many people are using it as much. I wonder why. See, it's not rising as fast as photovoltaics. What will that?
Photovoltaic is also solar panel. That's basically capturing the solar power for electricity, I think. But the other one for concentrating solar power, I'm not sure what the difference is. But I think one reason, I did call a few companies to see how much it would cost, because, on Facebook, you see these advertisements saying that, it's free, you don't pay a penny. But in fact, you're going to take a loan from them. In fact, it's going to be,
is that here?
It's not free. It's, I think it's like altogether, it's going to be like 120,000 or something.
It's very expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Because even they have places, I think Tesla, my husband was talking about it, that you can rent solar panels from companies, and it's supposed to be cheaper. But I think you sign a deal and then you rent it and you pay a certain amount. And then when you don't want it anymore, they come and take it off. But when they come and take it off, you have huge screws on your roof and you kind of have to fix everything. So it's just is it worth it? Should I just buy it? So it's getting solar panels is a great idea if you're going to keep it and stay there forever, if you don't plan on moving. But if you want to move or you're not staying there, then I would not even think about getting it.
You can transfer, I think you can transfer the solar panel contract to the buyer who's going to buy a house. But I think it's just over the long term, yes, you probably can will be able to pay whatever they have paid in probably more than 12 years is the minimum. But they probably last 15 years, you have 3 years left or something. So far, even though the price has dropped so much, I think they're still not as cheap as, for example, not natural gas or things like those. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
But the trend is that the price will continue to drop. So maybe one day, right? So
yeah.
I know somebody who actually had solar panels on their house, and their electric bill was the best bill I've seen in my adult years. It was super low. I was like, oh. So I feel like it is worth it, but I just think the costs and everything else just probably really isn't.
Yeah, I also know, I know a family in New Jersey. This is in New Jersey. They kind of sell their electric current, that is financed by the solar panel to the electric company.
Right.
So they're even getting money they're not paying electric.
They're getting
bill.
money, but yes, but they have
Getting
already
money.
invested, right? They have to
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
purchase the solar panels and pay for the installation, and then
Yeah. So at a point in time, it starts. It pays back. It pays
Right.
itself back. Yeah. That's the point. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Long run.
recently you have so many people going to buy cars that uses the batteries like Tesla
Electric cars,
and all
yeah.
that. Yeah, because of the high cost of gas nowadays. So I guess as time goes on, hopefully this alternative source of energy will be more popular, you know, and even more cheaper to afford. Yeah, and if it's cheaper, many people would, like you said, Pemfen, it's just because it's cheaper to buy gas than to fix a solar panel on your.
Yeah, because I think didn't President Biden sign, was it an executive order or an executive action by 2024 all cars had to be electric or something like that?
I don't know. That was part of his campaign goal.
Because I
With
know
all
my
the new
husband said
cars.
that he did, and then now they're coming out with like, I think, was it Chevy is having like a all electric truck coming out,
right,
and it's like
right.
super expensive.
And like heavy volt, is that what you're talking about? The fully electric car?
Full-
Yeah. Yeah, they're, I think I forgot the name of the truck, but yeah, it's like a fully electric truck. And I was like,
Yeah, and they're saying that, you know, the battery is so powerful that you can pretty much use, you can host outdoor party, like, you know, with loudspeakers, you know, movie. And the truck actually has those plugs, right? So you can pretty much use the truck as a power source. But it's going to take many years for the country to, you will continue to see, you know, gasoline fueled cars on the road, because, you know, people already bought a car, right? So
exactly. We just
last
bought
for a long
car
time. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just going to say the summary of the whole thing. So this is the summary. Global greenhouse gas emission in 2030 associated with the implementation of the nationally determined contribution. So this is, they came together at a time, and then they decided on, okay, so each country should do so much, should reduce their greenhouse emission by a certain percentage. So they're saying that if the countries of the world follows that agreement, that's what is meant by earlier announced, it would make it likely that warming will exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius during the 21st century. So that likely limiting warming to below 2 degrees would then rely on a rapid acceleration of mitigation effort after 2030. That means if you have global warming below 2 degrees, then serious mitigation factors must be put in place before 2030, or else there'll be serious consequences in the world. It kind of sounds scary.
I think it's because, you know, the temperature has already kind of increased 1.1 degrees Celsius by as of today. So we are only 0.4 degrees Celsius away from that goal. On average, I think every year the temperature goes up by 0.08 degrees Celsius. I think that's what I saw.
I'm not sure, but there's another graph that actually analyzed all of this. You know, they're not just talking about it; they're gathering data and then putting it together in the form of a graph. So, you know, this is the section that is kind of blown up here, and look at the legends. So, trend from implemented policy. So this is the trend from the policy that is at present implemented. See, it's upward rising. It's just rising, you know? So in like about 2050, that's where it is. So, but now they're saying if with the whole world now put in place some mitigation factor that limits warming to 2 degrees, that's where the graph is going to be. It's going to fall like about 2030. So if they do even better, if they limit warming, if you just say, okay, we're not going to go past 2 degrees, it's also going to help. It's going to help. And if they do even better and say limit warming to 1.5 degrees, it's even going to be a lot better. So the whole idea is the whole world should wake up and be more serious about this mitigation factors. It looks like they're not doing enough. They should do more. If they don't do more, this is where we're going to be. That upward moving curve here, that's where the whole world is going to be by 2030.
I know in Germany, you're not allowed to idle for more than like 2 or 3 minutes. Like, because if they have like accidents and you're like stopped on the highway, you have to turn your car off. You can't leave your car running.
Huh.
There's actually people who will, like, I think there was one time where I left my car running because it was cold outside. And so I actually had somebody knock on my window and say, you're not supposed to leave your car running. And I had to turn my car off.
Bad Americans.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they probably talked about me after they walked away. It was really cold outside. But over in Europe, I feel like they take it way more seriously than we do in the United States.
Yeah, you saw that graph. America, they said North America produces the largest percentage of greenhouse gases in the world.
It's kind of hard to change the lifestyle that we're all getting used to. Right? So,
I think that's why in Europe the air is so clean and it just feels so good to take a deep breath.
Yeah, so this is the 10th slide, is the last slide. System transformation to limit global warming. So global greenhouse gases emission are projected to peak between 2020 and at the latest before 2025 in global modeling pathways that limit. So, you, as you saw from the previous slide, they have different modeling pathways. So in the global modeling pathways that limits warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, with no or limited overshoots, that means if they don't go past that, and in those that limit warming to 2 degrees Celsius and assume immediate action. That means we have to start doing something immediately, right now. Exactly. So without a strengthening of policies beyond those that are implemented by the end of 2020, then global house emissions are projected to rise beyond 2025, leading to a median global warming of 3.2 by 2100. Yeah. So what's going to happen if you have global warming of 3.2 degrees Celsius?
I have a few slides that will show that, possibly. I can give you some idea.
There'll be no more oxygen. Everybody will be buying their own oxygen. Yeah, I know, there'll be less, I don't know. I just don't want to say what I don't know, but I'm just fearing there might be not enough oxygen in the atmosphere. You're searching
that's why cutting down so many trees is just such a, so cutting down trees and not replanting more trees is causing such a big problem now.
I have a few slides that's kind of a continuation of Professor Funke has just started. So if I'm able to share,
stop sharing.
Let me share my screen. Okay. So my report is also kind of similar, right? So Professor Funke found hers from NPR, National Public Radio. I have all of my sources are coming from New York Times. So I'll share my screen. Share one. Let's see. you guys can see my screen, right? All right, so again, the UN report came out yesterday, and the message basically is no or never to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. If we don't do anything now, we're going to miss this opportunity because according to the current trend, like Professor Wanke has indicated, the temperature will go up to like 3 some degrees higher than the pre-industrial times. Consequences, in terms of consequences, right? So we already see a lot of wildfires happening everywhere. We know that if you probably still remember, like right before the pandemic, when you look at the billboards, you see that, pray for Australia, right? And then you see these cute koala bears, right? Because koala bears, they're burning to death. And then the pandemic started, and we forgot about it. But even before that, Paradise, California, in 2018, you probably still remember that name of that town. A lot of people, they were forced to leave their home. They lost their homes. Like a lot of people lost their homes in 2018. Most of the time when wildfires happen, I guess it happens in the places where no people live, right? But 2018 was different. Also look at some other numbers. In 2020, in the US, we lost 10.2 million acres of land because of wildfires, right? And that's a direct consequence from climate change. In 2021, I think, this time last year, Washington State, was burning so badly that the smoke traveled all the way to San Francisco. The people there, right? They can smell the fire. So 2021 we lost 7.6 million acres. 2019 4.6, 2018 8.8. So as you can see that every year. So in fact, we're just losing more lands each year. And this picture here is shown from a wildfire in a village in Greece. So it happens in other countries as well, right? In Greece, in Australia, so because of the emissions of these greenhouse gases, right, which include CO2, methane, and other gases, they are heating up the planet. And because of that, it kind of messes up the regulatory system of the atmosphere. The currents are not flowing in its usual pattern, and we get floods. We have deadly heat waves. A lot of people die because of heat, because the homeless people in the US, for example, right? And in other countries, it could be that people just cannot afford to buy air conditioners, so they probably don't even have air conditioners there. Water scarcity, severe drought, right? So I'm going to show you a few photos from other countries. I know that here, here in California, right, so residents they're not allowed to maintain their lawn, right? Pretty much, right? Because actually, I'm not watering my lawn because we get enough rain. But even if we have enough rain, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of water. You have to, in order to maintain the lawn, you actually have to add fertilizers, add these the herbicides, right? So which cause huge pollutions. And the grass that we're kind of trying to maintain, they're non-native. They don't grow very well, right? With our climate, but we're kind of trying to keep them alive artificially, right? By feeding them energy and nutrients. Also, because of that, because it's warming, mosquitoes, right? Mosquitoes travel to further north, right? To these colder places, including Alaska. And they very often carry diseases, a lot of tropical diseases like dengue, malaria. They're now entering Florida, and then they're moving further north, right, to Georgia and other states. A lot of farmers will not be able to harvest their crops because of drought. And because of that, in fact, the people from these poorer nations, such as some countries in Africa and in Asia, they're more likely to have malnutrition and hunger. a lot of people probably will lose their homes, or they will flee from their homes, right? Causing a global dislocation. Like, you know, people, they just, you know, enter other countries, not because that they want the American lifestyle, for example. It's really because their countries have become uninhabitable. So, like I said earlier, the global temperature has already increased by 1.1 degrees Celsius. If you compare that with early 19th century. And that's all because of the burning of the fossil fuels and also removing the trees from the forest. So even though the world leaders have kind of promised to limit the total global warming to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century, however, it's going to be very challenging. So basically, according to this report, unless we have to think of something, you know, that's transformational, it's very unlikely that we can reach that goal, even though there's still hope. And if we do not reach that goal, you know, more catastrophic climate impacts will increase. You know, we see more hurricanes in the past years. So here you're looking at, I guess, wildfire that happened in Brazil 2 years ago. Basically destroyed a trans-Pantano highway, I guess, in the wetlands, right? So if you think about the wetlands, there's a lot of water supposedly, right? So it's like swamps, but wildfire there. You're looking at, on this slide, children from Afghanistan, they're collecting water. So, and when they have to, supposedly, you know, they should spend time in school, right? So, and very often it's the girls, right? So it's the young girls that they're not allowed to go to school, so that, you know, they can line up and to collect this little water for the family to use, right? So like I said, in order to achieve that goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius, all the countries in the world, they actually have to completely get rid of all the fossil fuel emissions by 2050. That's almost, you know, well, carbon neutral. We're talking about carbon neutral, right? So if you, I guess, you know, you're going to drive a car, then you have to plant a tree or something, right? If we don't do much, again, it's going to be 3 degrees higher, right, by the end of the century. So first, so why 1.5 degrees Celsius is so challenging? This is because it's going to be very costly. A lot of countries, they don't have the resources, they don't have the money to achieve that goal, right? So therefore, they're not. So if they're if it's a developing country, and if they have to spend, in, let's say, you know, 20% of their GDP, right, trying to come up with these new technologies when they cannot even feed themselves, right? So that's going to be challenging for sure. So therefore, the wealthier nations, right, so like the US and European countries, you know, they are the ones who have polluted the country more. So therefore, these countries should really take up, you know, the responsibilities and kind of, you know, financially help those countries, right, to change their infrastructure so that they can burn less fossil fuels. What else? So here are some numbers. Between 2010 and 2020, droughts, floods, and storms killed 15 times more people in poorer countries than in rich countries, right? So we kind of see this in the news, then we forget about it because we don't directly feel the consequence, right? But people elsewhere, they die because of the impacts. Also, if the temperature passes 1.5 degrees Celsius, we're going to lose 8% of the farmlands. Right? So again, more people will starve. Also, when the temperature goes beyond 1.5 degrees Celsius, the coral reefs, more than likely, they are going to, because, you know, that goes together with ocean acidification. So therefore, the lower pH will bleach the corals, right? Kill those, endosymbiotic bacteria. Therefore, and we know that these coral reefs, they're actually buffers, right? They're buffer zones for the storm water. So therefore, when they're gone, we are going to see more kind of flooding near the coast. So here's a picture from a it's a damaged shoreline in India last year in the Bay of Bengal. Okay. So I guess the activists who attended this meeting, IPCC meeting, one of them was saying that you can. I guess she was saying something to kind of make an argument about the people from Guatemala who are leaving their country, right? So because a lot of people from Guatemala, they actually walk to Mexico and then they line up, they wanted to come to this country, right? So between rising seas, droughts, and mudslides, because of deforestation, some communities in that country, they cannot survive. They cannot live in their village anymore because even though we see that you can live anywhere, but if the place is always prone to flooding for 6 months out of 12, and then that place is not habitable, you cannot live there, right? So here you are looking at people moving all of their belongings after a severe flood in South Sudan. So like I said, achieving the 1.5 degree Celsius goal is actually really challenging. More realistically, we probably can keep the temperature to like 2 degrees Celsius, right? At 2 degrees Celsius warming, the amount of land globally burned by wildfire is going to increase in comparison to what's happening right now, more than 1/3. So they're going to be more frequent, right? Wildfires at more places. Also, between 800 million and 3 billion people will face chronic water scarcity. Also, crop yields and fish harvest will decline as well in many places. So again, starvation, right? So if the temperature goes beyond 3 degrees warmer, and then we're going to have more extreme weather events. Actually, it will go up, estimated to go up a 5-fold. So think about the amount of hurricanes that we have every year, 5-fold. Likely, Virginia Beach has been, I think the last time it was 3 years ago, Hurricane Matthew, right? So it was pretty bad at Virginia, in Hampton Roads. But if it's 5-fold, we probably have this every few years instead of every 10 years. Or flooding from sea level rise and heavier rainstorms can cause 4 times as much economic damage as they do today. Also, 1/3, 29% is almost 1/3, right, of the known plants and animal species, they can go extinct because these, animals and plants, they probably cannot adapt. So here you're looking at a cow trying to live in an area that's flooded in South Sudan, right? So some animals, they will not be able to adapt, then they will die. Just, the whole species will disappear. Drought is definitely, already devastating in some countries. Here you're looking at a young boy collecting very little water from a dried up river. So this used to be a river. This is in Somalia. But if the temperature further warms, then this place probably has no water at all, right? People probably would just desert this place and move somewhere else. Wildfire in rainforest. So again, I think Christine mentioned that sometimes the fire is not wildfire; it's just intentional. Like people wanted to clear the land, right, to do some things, right. Also, many nations many rich nations, so many nations, we see that they have already spent billions of dollars, right? So the cost of kind of combating and adapting to the climate change, they have already spent billions of dollars, but the measures have been focused on adaptation instead of prevention, right? So trying to adapt, for example, by building flood barriers, right? So like in New Orleans, they build these sea walls, right? But so first, rich people tend to already live on lands that's at a higher elevation, and then they build the seawall, right? And then when the seawater rises, the water has to go somewhere, right? So they're going to go to the more populated, poorer neighborhoods, right? So what else? Air conditioning, right? So again, we can afford air conditioning, but a lot of places, a lot of people in other countries, they cannot afford air conditioning. But this have done some good for sure, right? So for example, the early warning systems for tropical cyclones, right? People can evacuate, right, to safer places. So therefore, fewer lives get lost because of these, dramatic events. But if it's going to happen more frequently, right? So therefore, like Professor Funke has mentioned, preparing for future threats, such as decrease the dwindling freshwater supplies, also the irreversible ecosystem damage, requires transformational changes, right? Transformational means that we cannot just, we should not be satisfied with what we're doing currently. We should think about, for example, where to build the homes, maybe more towards inland, how to grow food, right? What kind of energy should we produce, and how we can protect the nature. So again, the wealthier nations, right? So they are the first ones who have kind of burned more fossil fuels, right? So their economy kind of they become wealthier because of that, and they cause more pollutions. So they do have a higher responsibility, right? In terms of saving the earth, they definitely should. I think they're already doing it. I think in the U.S. actually every year donates a certain amount of money, I think tens of billions of money to these poor nations, right, to help them combat climate change. So I think this year's IPCC report gives us a hopeful message. So saying that there's still hope. So in the past, every year the report is just like it's so bad, it's getting worse, right? We're all going to die someday. So this year, I think they changed the message. They're saying that it's not too late, because if there's nothing, if it's too late, if there's nothing to do, and then I'm not going to do anything, right? So in fact, a lot of young people, they have played a major role, kind of taking up the, basically advocating for Earth Day, for climate change, through TikTok, Instagram messages or pictures, and podcasts. Right? So I guess if you can think of anything that you can do, I think educating people and spreading the message is probably more important than when we used to think that everybody can do something. You should drive less, right? So that is not enough. The message is that if you are just focusing on the personal effort, that is not enough. Where's that slide that I have? Right here. So even though individual actions help, but it is no match for the impact of the entire civilization that have built the economies around burning carbon sources for energy. So we, in fact, probably to make a bigger difference, we should educate our friends, our neighbors, our family to take climate change more seriously. Write to politicians, or get involved in these different political events, get the politicians think about, writing the policies that's going to support, combating climate change. What else? I think what else here? So, why we think that there's hope? The reasons for hope include, Professor Funky actually already mentioned a few. Number one is that we, in fact, even though we have not made all the promises that we said we were going to do, we in fact have made some progress in slowing the climate change. For example, before 2015, according to what we were doing before 2015, the world was expected to warm by about 4 degrees by 2100, and now it's 3 degrees Celsius, right? And also the cost for solar and wind, they have become much cheaper. Electric vehicles have become cheaper. Government and businesses actually spend billions of dollars, right? So investing in clean energy. Batteries have become cheaper, so a lot of people have chosen to drive electric vehicles. They're building more of these, charging stations, right, for these electric vehicles. Also, even though it's almost impossible to achieve 1.5 degrees C, every drop in degrees matter. Even 1/10 of a degree can save lives by preventing all of those things that we don't want to see happen, right? So this is the same model as what Professor Funky has showed you, but slightly different. I'm not sure why that's kind of doesn't line up. It should be like that. Okay. So basically, if we don't do anything, according to the pre-2015 policy, the temperature can go up to 4.2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. With the current policy, with whatever that we're doing already, the temperature will go up to 3.1 degrees Celsius. But according to the pledge, if we follow the pledge that our country has made, or all the other conditions will also do the same thing, and then the temperature actually will go to 2.4 degrees Celsius. And if we follow this new pathway, right, so be more strict, right? So by 2030, we achieve some goal. By 2050, we achieve some goal. And then there is a chance that we can limit the increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So this is a goal, even though it's kind of really hard to reach, but we should try to, again, try our best to not to exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius. So that's mine. I think it's kind of similar, goes together with Professor Funky's message. Philip, do you want to share something that you have found?
Let me see here. I guess we'll close with ways to protect the Earth. I found 10 ways to protect the Earth. I guess you can call it the 10 commandments of the Earth, but I'm sure there's a bunch more, of course, but let me see here. Share screen. Disable screen share.
Thou shalt not kill.
Or steal. All right, let's see here. Share screen. All right, so this is what I found. So let's see here. Minimize. Okay, so here are 10 ways one can protect the Earth. So the first one, it's the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So pretty much reduce what you buy, like plastic bottles, and just buy like a canteen or a hydro flask or whatever. That can cut down on the plastic in the environment, and it's good for better for animals, because and for kids too, because they don't choke on the caps and they don't pollute our environment. Reuse, again, it's all about reusing. So like reuse those hydro flask or something hard. Reuse even like kitchen scraps, like you can reuse them and plant them for compost, like when you're gardening. It's also, like I said, kitchen scraps, like, or you can even make like a stew and then you can throw them away, but don't just toss them away immediately. Recycle, so when you have like paper, anything paper, glass even, make sure you recycle it and put it in the proper bin. I know sometimes that they don't always do that part, but you can say you did your part when you recycled. And if possible, use both sides of the paper. I know I don't personally, but
I do. Let me just show you.
I don't.
too.
I
Both
personally don't
sides of
usually.
paper.
And so finish, yeah, recycle. Volunteer. Again, find an organization you can be part of, whether it be in your community, picking up the trash on the side of the road, or even just volunteering with humanity in general, like any kind of efforts. Because volunteering, because again, when there's a lot of people, you get good things out of it. Educate, like we all said, educate ourselves on how to protect the environment and others, and educate others that are not doing their part, call them out on it, be like, hey, you're not recycling, or whatever. You can say, hey, this is why we recycle. For water, again, just cut off the water when you're not using it. So when you're like washing the dishes, just maybe use less water instead of leaving your faucet full on. Or just, yeah, conserve water. Less water you use, it's less wastewater. Choose sustainable products. So this actually says make smart seafood choices. So you want to protect the fish and even make sure it's like clean and make sure it's they were farm raised properly or whatever. Shop wisely. Again, you want to make sure that you're not buying like you're using plastic bags, but rather bring your own bags. Like when you go to like, I don't know, Lidl or Aldi, you have the option to get those paper bags. Those are better for the environment, again, than like a plastic bag. Because again, those are not good for the environment or animals. Use long-lasting light bulbs. So I personally don't know that much about it, but energy efficient light bulbs reduce greenhouse emissions. So pretty much, I guess there are battery lights and even light bulbs that you don't use that much energy, let alone electricity. So those are really good for the environment, and they're good for your eyes too, fun fact. And make sure when you're leaving your room, you turn off the light. Don't leave the TV running when you're just going off to go shopping or whatever. Turn off the TV. Plant a tree. Not only are trees pretty and good for birds and squirrels and all that, but they also provide food, oxygen, and they help filter the air, and they help save energy and help climate change. So don't send chemicals into our waterways. So again, like let's say you're washing your car, there are products that are really good that they say it's good to rinse, but don't buy those products that you don't know about that can pollute the environment or even dirty it. And then bike more, drive less. I mean, I personally, again, don't do that, but if you bike, it's not only good exercise, but it also makes perfect sense because you don't want to use a lot of gas being expensive and gas being bad for the environment, the toxic fumes. You can actually bike more. And that's what I have.
That is great. Christine, we want to see the baby. He's such
Oh
a good boy.
yeah.
He's brushing his teeth and he's not making any noise. How old is he now?
You want to say hi?
Hey, wow, you can see words.
I did.
Hey,
You brushing your teeth? Yeah. Having a time of his life.
yeah. What's his name again?
Isaac. He's my youngest.
Isaac. Hey,
Isaac.
Isaac. Are you sleepy?
He's got to be.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
Are you ready for bed?
Oh,
No.
no.
Okay.
All right. I think it has been a good meeting, Christine. Do you want to wrap up? It's 9:17 now.
Yes.
I think we definitely talked a lot about, what we can do, what's going on, what we can do to protect the earth.
Yeah, I think you said tonight was our last meeting
That's
of
right.
the semester.
Mhm.
Okay. So I think this was a great meeting. We dished out a lot of information, especially about what's going on with the earth and different ways that we can help slow down the climate change and even try to reverse the effects of everything that's going on right now. So I don't think I have anything else to share. Cause I think I had the ways to help, but you guys pretty much covered everything. So
Sounds great. I guess we can always follow up in an email, right? In an announcement to
Yeah.
everyone. So to let everybody know about our plans for next semester, I guess, right? So just stay tuned. I'm going to stop recording now.
are we doing summer semester? We're not doing anything through the summer. It just fall and spring.